Well, next we take an inside look into Abu Dhabi's ambitious Neighbourhood Parks program, how design, ecology and community needs have come together to shape a new generation of public spaces across the emirate. In this presentation, creating 104 neighbourhood parks in Abu Dhabi, Rasmus, the design principal of and senior partner at SLA. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rasmus to the stage. Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone, it's time to see the best lecture of today. So stop. You can plenty of time to network afterwards and come and listen. You're about to have an amazing show. So I traveled quite far to do this presentation. And I have to freestyle because I don't have a clicker for my slides. So I'm just kind of making up something right now that I haven't prepared. But my name is Rasmus Astrup. I am design principal in a firm called SLA. We recently spent a lot of money on a logo, as you can see behind me. I think it's pretty cool. The L is kind of embedded there. I worked in UAE for around 10 years. Thank you so much. Thank you. What I am about to tell you today is about our firm and how we work, but also about a project that we did for the municipality of Abu Dhabi. So we call ourselves a nature-based design studio. We are 130 people inside SLA, 30 years of experience and a lot of projects all around the world. We call ourselves a nature-based design studio because we think that a lot of the inspirations but also answers of things are actually in nature. And we try to do these projects as an approach to what we call city nature, regardless of where we are. So if it's in Copenhagen, if it's in Abu Dhabi, if it's in Dubai, if it's in Toronto where we work, we have the same approach. What varies is the climate, it's the culture, and the nature. But how we approach and bring it into buildings, you can see the ski slope here where it's an architecture building that performs like a landscape, headquarters, Al-Fay Park, as you can see, campuses for students. We just try to jam in as much nature as possible because we need that. The way that we do that is to work interdisciplinary. I'm a landscape architect by heart and soul. I have no other educations. Never gonna need one because it's the most awesome one you can get. But others are also contributing with great effort and competences in SLA. As you can see here, it's not even a setup. We do have biologists, even a philosopher, Andreas, who stands there. So we try to approach the projects from very different things instead of just a geometry, a shape. It's actually rather a conversation and approach. And that is something I recommend all of you to do because that leads to impact. And if you don't have impact, what's the purpose of getting up in the morning and do your job? So impact is something we treasure. We have a passion. So when we were asked about the municipality to design neighborhood parks in Khalifa City here in Abu Dhabi, we were like, yeah, that sounds really interesting. This neighborhood configuration could be more or less any where in Abu Dhabi in the sense of a grid. And then within those grids, there are some rectangular private plots, and in between those plots, there are CCAS, and there's supposed to be a neighborhood plot within each of these big rings. It's very efficient designed. It's pretty much defined by roads, but we were, of course, super interested in working on that. The issue was that the municipality asked us to design 6 parks at the same time. So we had to do a lot of meetings because we didn't feel that we could maintain our design integrity, designing 6 parks at the same time. And on top of that, we were also following a super restricted budget and a limitation of materials that we could use. So my designers, including myself, I'm also designing, was having a breakdown, a mental breakdown, because the creativity was lost. No hell could we work like that. And funny enough, the limitations brought more creativity. And it's often like that. It doesn't mean that if you have endless budget, endless time, it just get into the best solution. I would actually doubt that. I mean, of course, this is a fixed budget. You have to be below 1,000 dirhams per square meter. It has to be super fast. But nevertheless, we did it. We tested it. Can we do 6 parks at the same time? And again, this was also about finding a contractor who could do 2 parks at the same time. Back then they couldn't. Now they're doing 6 parks at the same time. So we had a site. We saw it, we visited it, and approximately a year, this one took 400 days, after there was an installed park. And it was within the budget, and we did it for 6 parks in a total, so they all went successful. The community was also involved in it. We debated and engaged with them. So we listened and understood what that specific neighborhood needed. We implemented it. We learned how to do that fastly. We spoke to the mosque and integrated it with them. And we even sneaked in like small features because we found loopholes in the budget. This is, for instance, the mist on the playground, so there's standardized items. But even in this one, there's a secret button on on these poles. There's a secret button. We didn't tell anyone where it was. It took the kids 3 seconds and they found out where it was, and then they can turn off the mist for each other, because kids before adults start to teach them, they're super smart actually. So they found out how to deal with it very fastly. So we made it. We chilled. We were like, okay, 6 parks, it's still creative. We can do it. So then the municipality said, great, let's do more. And let's scale up the parks to packages of 20, 30, and then do several packages at a time. So we ended up within 1 year designing 100 parks in the studio, and they all needed to be individually designed, their own logos, their own identity, within the same budget, with a fast track, and with the more or less same amount of materials. And it was fun. And I learned so much from it. I would do it all over again. They are more or less, they are all built. We followed some of them longer than others. And what's interesting about the parks is not the parks themselves, it's actually the process. It's how you break down the systems that you normally have, the conventional systems, and start thinking differently. So this project was made in collaboration with the suppliers, all of the suppliers that you see back here. A lot of them were involved, the contractors, the municipality itself, us working differently as designers, being aware and listening and being fragile, because the first workshops we had was about sharing mistakes. So everyone, whether you were a supplier, a designer, a contractor, need to bring 3 mistakes. So it means a lot if you go to in front, and especially down here, where it's not so common. The transparency was to stand up in front of each other and say 3 mistakes and 3 things how you could do to improve it. And then you had trust. And when you had trust, we really started to roll out the efficiency of the program. All of the parks have been visited. There's a whole analysis of each of them. There's a sketch of each of them. We had 2 weeks to design a park. I don't think I would do the schedule once again, but it was still fun. So they are individually, and we did a whole system that we call SLIM, because there's BIM, so we needed to come up with something cooler. So it's called SLIM, and it's basically a Rhino model where we had a basketball court, we had trees, all of them according to the SOR. So I immediately, as we sketch, we still did a manual thing on tracing paper. As soon as it went into 3D, it was the same file who could do the tender drawings, the visualizations for the city, a 3D render. So we invented that, and the cost. Because that's often the problem, right? We do all of these beautiful renders, and then in the end, the budget doesn't add up. So we knew exactly what the cost was from that system called SLIM. And that's what made it efficient. We never had to respond to, well, is it within the budget? Yeah, everything was within the budget. That was clear. So that SLIM model definitely was the proof that it worked, and we implemented so many different parks here as just some examples, and they do vary. Some of them are more lush, more colorful, more playful. Yeah, and some of them are in dense neighborhoods, which I also love, where people are really using the urban spaces a lot because they live in apartments and don't have outdoor spaces. So we feel that we are making a change. And speaking of those changes, it's like when we were done, and with the first 6 parks, we noticed that we probably didn't fulfill it completely. I would make a wild guess that none of you walked here, unless you're staying on St. Regis Hotel. Obviously, that's cheating. But none of you walked here. And we lost. It's like the smartest thing you can do. We just heard about AI and all these things. I'm going to show you now the smartest thing ever invented in the world. See, I can move now while I'm talking. And I can look at you, I can smell, I get exercise, I can have a conversation with another human being. Super innovative, but we lost it. So we drive around to a mall, to a conference center, and it's a problem. So the parks were actually financed partly by the sports authorities and by the municipality with the purpose of getting people to walk more. It's a business case. In Denmark, we calculated that per kilometer you drive on your bike instead of a car, the society saves $1 on infrastructure, on hospitals, mental health. So we wanted people to walk. So I mentioned the seekers before. What happened was that each of the parks actually had 3 components. They had a mosque, and we engaged with the imams, and it was amazing to have that connection and openness towards having a street basketball in front of the mosque, and the kids ran in for prayers, and then they went out to play in the parks. It was really beautiful to see the community value in the mosque. The park works, but people couldn't get to them. The neighborhood were walking around in seekers to get to these ones, but the seekers didn't work. And seekers is the smartest invention ever made in this region. And it's so old because you have 2 walls that are shaded, and when the massing, a light-colored massing, high albedo effect, gets shaded, and it keeps shaded, it's like an outdoor AC. It's so smart. This is how dumb we became. We are so dumb that we made the buildings heat up the seekers. So we invented an indoor AC system so we can survive inside, and then we jammed a super bad connection into the outdoor solution. That is the culture, the most precious culture. So suddenly the seekers are noisy as I can't describe it, and they are warm. Hello, what happened? AI technology, please solve that. But anyway, so that's a thing. And the seekers are therefore abandoned. nobody uses them. So part of this project was that we've got funding through DMT and actually renovated all of the Sikas. And I'm almost more proud of the Sika renovation than I am of the parks. It's hidden at nothing, but we saw it, and there was an investigation about it, that people started to walk to the mosque. They started to walk to the park. They bike there. And if we can accomplish that, it's a much bigger accomplishment than anything else. And then measure the impact. I mean, what we did with these parks was to measure the impact, being transparent. The biodiversity is the biggest crisis out there, guys, and we can change that as landscape architects. And we need to do it in cities because citizens live in cities. 70% of the population in 2050 live in cities. So if we lose the connection to cities, we lose the connection to ourselves. So in all of the parks, we measured it, we shared it, and we increased it. There's even a promise of how many species, not Homo sapiens, birds, all of the animals in the parks, we measured them. And we brought it in as a promise to the community and to the municipality. And it worked. And I'm really proud of that accomplishment. A lot of people ask us, well, how can you do so many parks, do lush lush parks without irrigation too much? At the same time as we developed the parks, the irrigation demands went down. They are actually more restricted here in Abu Dhabi than in Dubai. And the answer is so simple, guys. Use native species. Think about having open spaces where there's not too dense. Then you can still have a lush planting and reach the biodiversity, have a very special atmosphere, but in a sustainable way. So we did that. Another thing that I'm proud of with this one is the change. Of course, you can say, is it... I would love to have a mega big park with a big budget, and this is fast track. It's maybe not as sexy as having those big prestige projects, but to have 100 parks that is now actually multiplied to 300 means something. You can make change. And you should always aim to do that. And one of the things that we are most proud of is that we reduced the amount of concrete. And I know why it's challenging here, because the UV and the heat and the resiliency is different here. In Denmark, we are starting to do projects in wood, but we have wood. It's a different climate. You can't do it. But the amount of concrete used in the Middle East is substantial. And I don't know what the solution is, so I'm actually not blaming anyone. I have also no idea of how to change it. What I'm asking for is a dialogue about how to enhance it. And when we did this, the first 6 parks, there was no allowance for pavement that wasn't either asphalt or concrete. That was not in the SOR because of maintenance requirements. So when we then did the first park without any concrete and managed to get gravel that is now implemented in so many parks, and it seems simple, it's this gravel from Oman, but it's made for disassembly. You can just excavate it and dump it somewhere else. You can maintain it quite easily. Yes, it's a bit dusty, but it's beautiful. It's texture. You can feel it when you walk there. It's sensors, and it patinates. So this park was the first of many where there was no concrete walls, there was no concrete pavement, and it was all just natural materials. And what does that mean? It means something when you're designing 100, and actually it was 300 parks, because suddenly there's 30 parks without concrete in them. And I'm not saying ban concrete, I'm just saying try to do change, because it's possible. And it was insane. And it was so hard to get there, and now it's just normal procedure, and people just love that that's also an opportunity. So always try to change. Don't win all of the battles you can, but take the ones that you can. And then, because I'm completely out of time, I just want to end with the progress and hope that I have seen personally after this, because I think it led to a lot of things. I'm not taking the credit for all. for all of the great work that I've seen here, and it's so honorable to be among all of your cool colleagues here. But we were allowed to do the landscape design for the expo in Osaka, and there we really want. I mean, an expo is about looking into the future. It's about pointing towards the future, and the expo pavilion for UAE was about the date palms and the farming in UAE, and we were so honored to be there. It was a beautiful, beautiful place, even though it was a tiny project, and I don't have time to show all of it, but it was. We linked the Sado with the Budo, the two fabrications of fabric. We merged the Japanese culture with the UAE culture. We embraced everything that there was to be, and there were so many bridges. But we were also allowed to tell the other side of the date farm in UAE. There is around 40 million date palms in UAE. And the organic waste from a date palm is full of oil, and it's almost wood. So you can't just put that into to fertilizer for tomato or something. There's one factory in Liva who's doing some amazing about making it into organic fertilizing for other day, but there's still way too much actually organic garbage from the date industry. And it's a problem, and they want to solve it. So we made the very first tile with the bad thing in concrete is cement, with no cement, and full of waste from the date farm industry. And it's there. It's only approved for the Japanese policies. We are hoping to get it approved for the UAE soon, and I'm wrapping up now. But I'm just saying that's hope. It's transparency, it's progress, and I can't find anywhere else in the world than here where these things can happen. And it gives me so much joy to be part of these projects. It gives me so much joy that now you are selling real estate value as nature as the highest level. Biodiversity is ultra luxury. That's really crazy. We are now seeing that nature and biodiversity is a pitch. A shout out to Phil, who's sitting here from Expo. We are doing a nature sanctuary. These are the most expensive villas in Expo Valley. They're just staring into pure nature. There's no fountains, there's no nothing. Nature is becoming a business case because it's authenticity. And that's what's missing in this world. And that's what's now seeing there. We have been paid by a client to fly 3 biologists to a site in Dubai to do a baseline, a biodiversity baseline, so they could make sure that the species would survive after the project. That's going to work to do a biodiversity baseline. How amazing is that? There's so much cool stuff. We even had to do, a lot of the pollinators are out on nighttime. It was the most amazing. This is a job. Imagine that. And then this one, and then I will shut up, was that I just saw that the city, there was the National Museum, History Museum, just did an urban nature safari. So people went to Alfay Park to study insects. Instead of going to the cinema or a mall, which you can do, it's nice, I do it myself, they went with their kids and studied insects right in the city. And that's really giving me hope. Thank you so much for listening.
Rasmus, thank you. Nice presentation. Thank you. We don't mind you going a little bit over time. Fantastic.